Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Today we're going to check out the new PRS Mark Lettieri signature Fiore, PRS's next Stratocaster style guitar. When this thing was first released, I was pretty pumped for it. I had never heard of Mark and his work, but I'm a huge fan of the PRS Silver Sky, so if this is even like 75% as good as the ones that I like of that, I'll be happy. But for full disclosure here, I did purchase this directly from PRS. So I do have some ties with people within the company. But let's go ahead and talk about Mark Lettieri. So the best way to describe his music, in my opinion, is it's music for the sake of musicality. And let me explain that, because he has amazing control over his instrument. Like, when you see him play, he owns that thing. He's done a bunch of different styles of music, but the ones that I was listening to, they're very funky, expressive, but his whole music really is a team effort. His bandmates have solid bass in there, really tight drums, and hey, they've even got some pretty sweet keys in there as well. In the music that I'd listened to, there was not necessarily any singing, unless you check out his Friends theme cover in death metal style. And to be an instrumental band, you kind of have to have all those elements to really stand out. So I would suggest checking him out wherever you want to check him out. I found him on YouTube. But Mark himself, he's a session guitarist, he's got his band, he's been hired as a touring sideman, and he was also part of the house band for the Marcus and Joni show. So go ahead and check him out if you're not familiar with his work. But let's go ahead and dive into his new signature guitar. Now, every time I get one of these PRS gig bags, the more and more I notice, like, was this there last time, the Paul Reed Smith signature, or are they changing things? Other than that, everything's looking like what we've seen before. You get a handle so you can hand it like this, or you got one on the edge like this. It's a pretty nice gig bag. I always fail to tell you guys about the padding on the back. You also have straps back here if you want to use it like that. So good if you want to take it gig to gig, super lightweight. However, there are hard shell cases available for an upgrade if you would like. But let's go ahead and check the Fiore out here. I decided to go with the red one, called Amaryllis. And the reasoning behind that is this is the only color of the three that they're offering currently that has some sort of a wood grain showing. Because they also have Sugar Moon, which is more of a whitish color, and they have Black Iris, which kind of reminds me of like an oil spill finish. I haven't seen one of those in person. It looks like it's got like a little bit of different colors into it. It was between that one and this red one for me, but I decided to go with this one mainly because of the wood grain. So Fiore means flower in many of different languages. He has some Italian heritage within him, so that's why he decided to do it, because he was trying to figure out a good name of this, and his daughter said, hey, how about we name it Flower? And, you know, the more and more he thought about it, then he swapped it over to Fiore. He likes how the notes blossom off of this and how it kind of opens up. And then to further the family involvement here, he had his mother design this. It kind of has some Renaissance vibes going on to it, and it just looks like a flower. But the brand new price for one of these guys is $2,449, so that's $50 more expensive than a Silver Sky, at the 2021 market value anyways. Well, let's go ahead and check this out. What makes it different from a Silver Sky? I think the most apparent thing is, obviously, it's an HSS setup. So no more 3 single coils, you've got the humbucker in the bridge. No pickguard at all. Your output jack has been moved from the front to the side, which is something I really like. And it kind of makes it different from a regular Stratocaster. But they also have this slight little beveled edge right here that the Silver Skies do not get. And then there's a few other small things like the nut style. This one has like the regular PRS style instead of the one that's kind of like inserted in the fretboard. You've got the PRS style truss rod instead of the dog tag style. You've got the metal tips on the tuners, but you know, I was kind of starting to dig those plastic tips that the John Mayer version has. But these are just the small button styles. And the neck profiles are going to be very slightly different. This is just his own signature type thing. You'll also notice that the headstock is the regular PRS style, so it's technically reversed from the Silver Sky. The radius is a little bit flatter on this. But so far, it feels like a pretty nice guitar. It looks very similar to what I saw in the stock photos. Some nice wood grain going on here. Pretty much all the regular PRS elements. But since we don't have a pickguard up front, we definitely need that. And the electronics are a little bit fancier on this guy. We've got some push-pull pots to talk about later on today. So it's not necessarily just a humbuckered Silver Sky. They did change some other things up. But something I'm noticing right away, These pickups look so large without a pick guard on the edges of them, because you can see the pickup surrounds around there, so it just makes the pickup look way longer and wider than you're normally used to. This thing really reminds me of that Michiya Haruhata Stratocaster, the Japanese exclusive one, with the whole finish and side output jack and stuff. But hey, let's go ahead and throw this one on the workbench and take an individual look at its parts and specs. Inside Mark's Fiore, let's go ahead and take a look at this. So HSS style pickups, as we had discussed before, but these are actually unique pickups voiced specifically for him. They didn't really give him a fancy name, they just called them the Fiore single coils and the Fiore humbucker. And you can see that on the labeling, Fiore H. But I don't see any labeling on the single coils, it's just one of them's colored red for the middle pickup, and then you get your neck right here. Let's take a look at the pickup cavities themselves. Just a regular single coil route here. It looks like it says CLZ1 maybe. Nothing in our middle position, but the humbucker route does have a few stickers in it. It tells you your serial number, the date of production. But we do have some barcodes here on this sticker, and if you take that off, I was curious what this was. Was that like a plug in the body? No, that's just a sticker underneath the finish. And when I took that off to check that out, it looks like there's another one of these stickers underneath the finish as well. It's just not completely filled out. And sometimes I get PRS employees watching my videos and they ask me to show the initials, so looks like a BJ or BX, something like that. And then maybe an L on this side. But these just secure directly to the body using these springs for height adjustment. And you just screw them directly into place. So within the circuit, our bridge pickup reads about 8.11 k ohms. When you switch over to our middle position, you get about 5.6-ish, and our neck position is about the same. And we'll go ahead and grab our in-betweens here just for fun. 3.33 on this. Alright, let's see if we can figure out what these push-pull pots do now. So this guy takes that from 8.5 down to 3.35. But you'll notice that actually does the exact same thing on the neck pickup. So it appears what that's doing is it's activating these two pickups together so you can get a tone that you wouldn't normally be able to get, but you're not turning all three pickups on. Because if you look at your middle pickup readings, that's not affected by that switch. But also keep in mind that technically in this position, I think you should be able to get all three pickups on, because that'll add that together, and since you also have that going, so you can get all these pickups in all the different combinations in a roundabout way using that. And then this one, I've been told it's a series parallel switch, but that only affects anything that has the bridge pickup within it. Here's the official PRS write-up in the case candy they give you. Strangely enough, this is not on their website. So I suppose in many ways you could say this is technically more versatile than a Silver Sky. We have a 2-point adjustment steel tremolo bridge. You get individual saddles right here, and the trem arm just goes in there. You can lock it down into place using the Allen key. And the arm itself actually has a metal tip on it. A small thing I'm noticing QC-wise is it looks like the finish is already chipped away because of the toggle switch hitting against it. So I guess that's something maybe they could do some more R&D on, because that is a little bit unfortunate. It just kind of hits it there, and that must have chipped the finish, or maybe it just happened when the finish was being applied. It also looks like we have like a slight finish imperfection right there kind of by the screw. Normally areas like that would be covered up by a pick guard, but that's not the case this time. I also noticed like a small little ding right here on the edge. It's just a tiny one, but that was there out of the box. I suppose if you really wanted to, you could maybe custom order a pick guard. I'm not sure if a Silver Sky pick guard on here would fit or not. You'd at least have to route it out for a humbucker, but I'm not sure if the rest of the layout fits or not. That could be a new market for somebody who makes pick guards. As far as the actual controls, that's a master volume with a tone for the neck and middle pickup and a tone just for the bridge. But as far as the body itself, this extra little cutaway here, despite being, you know, kind of S-styled in a guitar, this right here still looks pretty PRS. It doesn't really start to capture the Stratocaster style till you get here. It has a very exaggerated arm carve as well. The contour just kind of goes up here, so it's pretty much like a line right here. You can kind of see that in the reflections. But this is a Swamp Ash body. A lot of people have been comparing these guitars to like the Swamp Ash Special that PRS has done. We get a maple fretboard on top of a maple neck. We've got 22 frets on this with the outlines of the birds. It looks like this one gets some mineral streakage going on. And I was able to confirm this is a 10-inch radius on the Sweetwater's website, as well as my own measurements. So that is going to make it different from the Silver Sky as well. but they've gone for the 25.5-inch scale length, so regular Strat styled guitar. But what kind of makes me excited is Lettieri actually has an album directly dedicated to baritone guitars. So if these things sell okay, I'm really hopeful they'll come out with a baritone version of these. I've tried a PRS baritone before. It wasn't my favorite baritone I've ever had, but you know, a USA version made one, I'd be excited for that. But at this point in time, you only have the option of a maple fretboard. So maybe at that time they could experiment with like ebony or something. That'd be fun. As far as neck specs, our bone nut measures 1.65 inches. By the 12th, it increases to 2.06, with the first fret neck depth of 0.87 and 0.95 by the 12th. And here's what we have for the neck dimension. So first fret, 12th fret. Seems to be a mix between like a C shape and a U shape. It's definitely full, but not overly rounded. So if you like those style necks, you'll be happy with these. And here's a good angle to see the difference between the neck wood and the maple fretboard. Here's the style of truss rod they use. They cap it off with a mahogany block. As far as the tuners, it's the locking style. If you're not familiar with how these things work, instead of locking from the back, they lock with these like fine tuner-like things. But so far, I'm not a big fan of these tiny little buttons. I really do appreciate that about the John Mayer signature version. I like those large plastic ones. That's something I'm missing on this. As far as the orientation of the headstock, I don't really care too much about that. Here's a nice close-up of that truss rod cover that his mom designed for him. Moving on to the back, here's what we got working for us. Two back plates, as we saw earlier, they stick on top of the guitar. But here's what our control cavity looks like itself. You get your frictionless pot that PRS is known for, and then the two stacked push poles. PRS frictionless pots, they take a little bit to get used to, but once you understand them, they're pretty nice. These ones have just a little bit more friction to them, and I think I actually prefer these ones, but they're very similar. I suppose we can take a quick close-up of our knobs here. They've got a clear topper with black numbers and a black center to kind of give them an interesting look. And this is just a regular black plastic on top of here. But lots of wires hooking all this stuff up. I wouldn't want to wire that one, that's for sure. And your tremolo comes stock with 4 springs on it. A magnet does stick to the block. And this is how much room you have to play with. As far as the rest of the back, you get a contour carve back here. So it starts here and then it cuts down to there. Wow, that's much bigger than a regular Stratocaster. But other than that, just a regular bolt-on style neck. It says Fiore on the back. That's the only place his name is on this entire guitar. So you could technically scratch that out if you didn't want his name on it at all, just to make the guitar your own, or swap your neck plate. But it is your regular style Strat buttons that PRS uses. And whereas the entire guitar is glossy, again, the neck is a more of a satin feel. And another thing I'm noticing, this is a one-piece neck. You can see all that wood grain lines up. The Silver Skies have a scarf joint where they put the headstock on there. Okay, I've got a retraction to that. I actually decided to go ahead and polish this neck, and oh yes, that feels so even much more nicer. Like, I thought it was okay right out of the box, but now, yeah, I'm happy with this. But while polishing it, yeah, I was wrong. They did the best grain match job ever. I was fully convinced that was a one-piece neck. I mean, I was kind of skeptical because you can kind of see like that glue join right there, that kind of darker area. But all the wood grain seems to pretty well match up. But no, if you get on this side of the neck, you can very clearly see the scarf join. That line right here, and it's very evident that the wood grain no longer matches up. It's pretty clear along this line as well. But no matter how long I look, I cannot see where it joins at the top. They match that so perfectly well. That is the best matching job I've ever seen. Like, everything looks perfectly correct until you look at one of the edges. So it's there somewhere. And our serial number is up here, dating to 2021, 0318712 for the serial. As far as the neck pocket goes, that looks pretty secure to me. That really shows you the exaggerated cutaway right there. And then the other side right here, lots of contact to the body. Now, as far as how many pieces the body is, how many do you think? I was pretty darn convinced that this was one piece. It's 2. The only way I could tell is you gotta look at the end grain down here. You can see the line right here where they come together. So good job, whoever matched those pieces up. They look nice. Let's go ahead and grab our weight. But this one weighs 7 pounds, 11 ounces. Let's go ahead, plug it in, and see how these things sound. Okay, Okay, let's go ahead and run through the different tones that you should theoretically be able to get out of this guitar. After just playing it for the past hour, I've got to say, this thing really excels with distorted tones in my opinion. But, you know, the cleans are pretty nice too. So let's start with just our neck pickup here. We'll do nice, basic, simple riffs and chords. So now your hidden positions. I'll show you what this switch does. So here's your regular bridge again. Now remember, you can also do that in this position. So regular. So it just kind of makes it a little bit thinner. So regular bridge. I really like that. And of course, if you flip that up here, you can get all three pickups on at the same time, and that'll sound like this. I'm liking about this humbucker is they have it voiced almost perfectly. Sometimes on HSS Stratocasters, I'll switch into that bridge humbucker and it's like a completely different sounding guitar. This one, it's still a humbucker, but it's not quite as out of place because I really like the PRS neck pickups. They always sound great. Okay, so I think there's actually 10 or 11 tones because you could also technically have all three of them on and have that bridge humbucker in its alternate tone. So it'd sound like this. And now where this thing truly shines is the distorted tones. Now that we know all about Mark Lettieri's new signature guitar, what are my final thoughts on the Fiore? At first, you know, picking it up, it's just a nice guitar. That's what I thought. But once you plug it in, it's the same thing with the John Mayer signature. They really nailed these pickups. They all sound absolutely fantastic. The fact that this one has a little bit of fancy electronics within it as well makes it more versatile, but whether that matters or not to you, I guess that depends which one you would want to go for, or if you want to go from something from Fender's offering. I thought it was comfortable. It felt great to play. I really like sitting down and playing with this one. I just played it for a couple of hours. Despite my initial thoughts thinking that this maple fretboard was a little bit nicer than the last one, I ended up still getting that kind of dried out hand feeling. I just prefer rosewood fretboards on the PRS guitars. I like my maple fretboards to have some sort of a thicker lacquer on them. Call me weird, but that's just how I am. So keep that in mind if you feel the same way that I do. I'd say this one has just a little bit thinner of a neck as compared to the Silver Sky, but not by much. As far as QC, besides the chipped finish that we saw right here and a little bit around there, I noticed that the output jack would occasionally cut out, like it didn't get a very firm fit. I mean, you can see, you can plug that in even further. Maybe they need to upgrade their output jacks, because it just doesn't really feel as secure as it could be. But if you learn nothing else from watching this episode, check out Mark's work. The first time I listened to it, I was like, okay, cool, nice instrumental, really guitar focused and heavy. But then when I actually sat down to learn a couple of his songs, man, he takes you to some strange places and really forces you to become a better player. I enjoyed just learning the few snippets of like 2 or 3 songs that I did. All in all, would I suggest buying this guitar? I mean, it's rather expensive. There's probably something else that I would buy before spending $2,500 on this. But if you already have one of everything else and you want to try one of these out, or you're a fan of Mark's, or you just happen to really love these pickups, I would definitely say go for it, because so far they're not selling these separately, and I think this is the meat and potatoes of these guitars, are these special voicings that they put within these pickups. Hopefully you can try these out in stores within a couple of months. They're just starting to come off the production line, so pre-orders should start coming in. If you're interested in being the next owner of mine that I purchased, I will have it on my website as well as Reverb, and you're welcome to order one of these through my new Guitar Day program if you wish to see it unboxed on the channel. I'd like to check out that Black Iris. I think now that I've seen this one in person, it's a bit bland in my opinion. I think I would ultimately prefer the Black Iris. So who knows, maybe we'll see the other colors unboxed on the show. But that's it for today's episode. Thank you Troglodytes for tuning in today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.